Hey everyone, it's Carrie here. So the other day I put out a questionnaire and one of the questions I asked was, what is the biggest thing stopping you from achieving your goal? And it's really no surprise that most people said time. That lack of time was what was stopping them. And I completely understand why, because often I feel like there just aren't enough hours in the day. And you know, when you're running a business, there's like a million and one things to do. And outside of business, you actually have a personal life to juggle and you've got all that stuff going on. And you can end up feeling completely swamped, totally overwhelmed and frustrated because you're not making the progress that you wanted to make. So in this video I want to talk all about how to actually make the most of the time you have. Now, a great mentor of mine, Peter Thompson, once told me that there is no such thing as time management. You cannot manage time. You can only manage yourself. Therefore, you have to get good at self-management. And it's so true. And when you think about it, then really, time isn't the problem. We are the problem. You are the problem. I am the problem. You know, because I am the person that isn't managing what time I have available to me effectively. And there's a really great quote I love by a guy called Viktor Frankl, and he said, "Everything in life can be taken away from you except for your freedom to choose how you respond to the situation." Because everyone's circumstances are different. You can't really control what goes on externally, really, but you can control how you choose to respond. And so changing your mindset on this time issue, so going from thinking you have lack of time to thinking actually I have an abundance of time, I have the same amount of time as everyone else and I need to make sure that I use my time as wisely as possible. How am I going to respond to the situations going on? How am I going to respond to everything that's going on in my life and get the most out of it? When you make that little shift in mindset, it can change everything and you can start to achieve amazing things. I really think that I started to learn really how to manage myself better and my time better was when I was at university. So when I was in my third year of studying law at university, I was also in the second year of running my online business, and I was also going to night school to learn more about web development so I could make my business more successful. So I was really stretched, I had an awful lot going on, and there'd be other people who were studying law with me who would say, "Oh, I just don't have enough time, there's not enough time to do all this stuff." And I sometimes think, well, wow, if you don't have enough time, then I definitely don't have enough time. And I know everyone's situation is different, everyone's circumstances are different. However, the observation I made was that the people who felt like there wasn't enough time were stopping themselves because they were then planting this belief that they didn't have enough time to do the things they needed to do. So who was missing out? They weren't getting to where they wanted to get to. And I found this happening with myself, so whenever I slipped into that frame of mind of there isn't enough time to do all this stuff, I was the only one that missed out. I missed out because I started programming myself to think that there wasn't enough time and therefore I wasn't actually achieving the things I wanted to achieve. So I was missing out from having that mindset of lack. It was not helping whatsoever. So the other thing I had to do is get really good at managing the time that I did have available to me. So I want to share some exercises and some little strategies that I use. And I have to say that managing my time, being organised, does not come easily to me or naturally. It is something that I have to work really, really hard at, and I think most people do. So these things I'm going to share have really helped me so much. Whenever I felt totally overwhelmed and swamped, these things really helped me. So for me, there are a couple of different reasons why I don't make the most or aren't as productive as I'd like to be with my time. And one of the reasons is sometimes I'll find that I faff around and I get totally distracted doing things I shouldn't be doing throughout the day. And a week goes by, a month goes by, and I'm like, oops, I haven't really done the things I was supposed to do. And it's really frustrating and you're just like, come on, like why am I not making progress in doing this stuff? And I often find that there's always a deeper rooted problem for why I'm getting distracted with other things. And it's either because I don't know how to do the thing I'm supposed to be doing, or it's that I'm just being downright lazy, or for whatever reason. But I often find that taking a little step back and thinking, why am I not getting on with this stuff, often helps you to unlock what's going on and address the actual issue, the problem that there is there. And then once you've addressed it, you can then move past it and you can be more disciplined with your time. I also just find sometimes I just faff around because if you don't stay on top of what you're doing, it can be easy. It's easy to get distracted. It's so easy, especially with the internet. One minute you're doing something productive, the next minute an email pops up from someone and you check that, and then something else pops up and you go and have a look at that, and before you know it 5 hours have gone by and you've really not done anything. So a great exercise for combating all of that and making sure that that doesn't happen is this. So you need to get 3 pieces of paper. On the top of one write A, on the top of the other write B, and on top of the last sheet write C. So throughout the day, what you're going to do is you're going to write down the tasks that you've done throughout the day. So what you write on sheet A are really important things that you did, things that you really need to do that were going to help you to get closer towards achieving your goal. What you write on B are things that were, they weren't necessarily unproductive, but they weren't completely really important. So emailing people that wasn't really urgent or wasn't really helping you to get towards your goal. And then what you write on sheet C is distractions, things you should not have been doing whatsoever. So throughout the day, after every hour that passes by, take a moment to write down the tasks you completed within that hour on the sheets. So if you were doing really important stuff, write down those on A, and if you were doing stuff that you weren't supposed to be doing, write it on C. So by the end of the day, you should have a really good idea of where you spend most of your time. So are you spending too much time being distracted and faffing around with things that you don't need to be doing? Or are you actually spending most of your time doing really important things? So I loved this exercise because when I was doing it, I was like, oh, need to get on to doing something more productive, and I was kind of keeping track of what I was doing. And so when I started faffing around, because I knew what I was about to write down what I'd been doing, I was trying to avoid having too much on sheet C. And so it kind of really helped me just doing the exercise in general. And so I often usually a couple of times a month or something, I'll do this, and it'll help get me back on track. And then in the days and the weeks that follow, I am just definitely more on top of what I am doing throughout the day. So it's really quite a good, simple, easy exercise to do. So often the other time when I become unproductive with my time or don't get the most out of time is when I haven't really got a plan. So I find it really helpful if I make a game plan for every single day. And what I do is on a Sunday night, I'll sit down and I'll plan out a game plan for the week ahead. So what I want to achieve that week, what I really want to get done. And a great mentor of mine, Jason Jackman, once sat down with me because I was like, Jason, I am so overwhelmed. So we met up for the day and we went through loads of different strategies for how I could get more done. And so he shared this exercise with me. He said, break your days into mini days. So for example, Monday between 9 to 11 is a mini day, and then you might have a half an hour break between 11 and half 11, and then half 11 till 1 is another mini day, and so on. And so in your mini days, you then decide what you're going to work on. So for me, I see the bigger picture, I know exactly what I want to achieve, and then I kind of break it all down, and then the game plan is the strategy part. It's figuring out the time in which you're going to do it all, and so you actually get on and do it, because it's easy to just put things off and to forget to do things. So having the strategy really works, because Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And it's so true. And I don't want to plan to fail, and I'm sure you don't want to plan to fail either. So the game plan really helps me. And so when you've got your mini days, so for example, Monday between 9 and 11, I might work on magazine, and then basically what I do is I pick maybe 3 core things I want to achieve within that time, and then expand on those. So I know exactly what I'm doing in each mini day, and it also really helps because things like writing an ebook, it's kind of, for me, it's sometimes easy to put off, because I get distracted replying to emails, going to meetings, answering calls, and before you know it, the week's gone by and you've not done something that would be crucial to do. So if I've got, say for example, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday between 2 and 4 work on my ebook, and say Wednesday I'm going to be doing the overview, so I'm going to be planning out exactly what I'm doing, going to write in the ebook, and then Thursday between 2 and 4 I'm going to work on the first part of the introduction of the ebook or whatever, and so that I can then see how I'm going to do it all, and I make time for it because it's there, it's planned out, and so in that time I know I am going to just work on that, and it really helps me. And I also colour code everything. This is just me, I just like it. So things like if I'm writing content for the magazine, it's a blue colour. If I'm doing advertising and sponsorship for the magazine, it's yellow. If I'm working on my emails, so every day I have a slot for emails, so it's generally in the afternoon, and I'll just sit and whiz through my emails and try and reply, and that's a blue colour for me. And by doing this, it means that I don't spend all day sat there checking my emails and replying as they come in. I just find it it's much easier and much more productive of my time if I just block off a short period of time to just go through emails. So all things are different colours, so I can really clearly see when my sheet, I print it off and then I stick it somewhere or have it on my desk, and I can see what I'm working on. And it also helps if throughout the day I've got distracted with something else, I can then go back to my timetable and be like, okay, is this day, is this time, I need to be working on this. So the game plan works so well for me. It really helps me to stay on track of what I'm doing and get the most out of the time that I have available to me. So hopefully those exercises will really help you. But on a last note, I just want to say that I often find that when I'm in a lack frame of mind, whether it's I feel like there's lack of time, lack of money, generally that then starts to happen more and more in reality, in my actual life. Because I feel that what's going on the inside of you reflects on the outside. And so I think that one of the biggest things that you can do if you feel like you have lack of time is to just switch your mindset on it, a bit like I talked about at the beginning. So for me, if I'm feeling like that just isn't enough time, I will often just stop for a minute and just refocus, reprogram my mind, and generally say something like, I have all the time I need in which to do all the things I need to do in order to achieve my goals. And by saying that statement, by using words to kind of change my thought process and refocus my mind, it really helps me to just shift out of that lack of time mode and go into feeling like that there's actually an abundance of time and I have all the time I need to do all the things that I need to do. And I also feel like whenever I'm feeling there's not enough time, I will just stop and take a step back and be grateful for the time that I do have, rather than feeling ungrateful for the time that I don't have. Because when I feel ungrateful for the time that I don't have, it doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't help me in any way whatsoever. It holds me back, it's a hindrance, it's no good to me. So by taking a step back and just thinking these things really helps me to then get on with what I need to do and stop thinking that time is the problem. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope you've enjoyed these strategies. I'd love it if you could leave a comment or maybe share some of the tips that you find have helped you with getting more done with the time that you have. And I will see you next time.